Coming up today, the winner of Vispero's Next Big Thing contest joins us. The Mantis Q40 from Humanware gets some big updates this winter. And chicken-scented candles.
You're listening to Double Time, your daily accessible technology show. Now, here's your hosts, Steven Scott and Shaun Preece.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another Double Tap for Monday. Shaun Preece, it's Monday. Why am I shouting? I don't know. Why am I shouting?
Monday. That was almost a song there. Hello, hello. It was almost like a Scottish folk song. It was beautiful.
Hello, 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 hello. I think that's a football chant. I'm going to stop doing that. But
yes, let's leave that well alone.
How are you? How's your weekend?
Very, very lazy. I've got to say, I don't think I even came into the shed the weekend. I've done
no work.
Nothing, no work whatsoever. I took a lazy weekend, although, you know, it's been raining and snowing and icy. Oh, talking of which, I went out the other day, very, very icy, right? I'm walking very slowly. I've got a bit of a phobia now about slipping and tripping over for some reason.
Splat. Yeah.
But honestly, I was terrified. It took me ages. Can you feel ice with a roller ball tip with your cane?
That's a question. Well,
I was feeling around, and sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. I'm thinking, should there be, I've come up with an idea of an ice detecting tip. If it was slightly textured on one half of the roller ball, and you would you be able to feel the ice then? Do you know what I mean?
No.
If it was like rubberized on one side, it would stick on the ice, wouldn't it?
No.
Okay, well, I'm just thinking, can someone please invent something that will do that? Because I was very scared there.
Well, you just get a little scraper stuck in the bottom of your cane. You could just,
scrape it up
as you go, right?
Plow. Well, it's funny, when it was fresh, powdery snow, you can see where I've been because it looks like a snake has been slithering behind me with the cane going backwards and forwards.
I prefer snow to ice. I always prefer snow to ice. If it's snowing, I don't mind going out. I mean, I didn't, but I don't mind going out.
No, of course, yeah, I'm exactly the same. But when it started to melt and got a bit slushy, and then it got below zero, and then it was
yeah, I'm not going out in that.
Yeah, it's not good for us elderly gentlemen.
Yes. I feel I'm falling into that category, figuratively, if not literally. I went out on Sunday. I am a hero. I went and got my COVID jab and my flu jab.
Question? I've started it already.
I can't believe. Okay, right, go.
Jag or jab?
I'm trying to North Americanize myself.
Right.
I think they say jab. We say jag.
Why do we say jag? No, wait. I've never heard anyone use the term jag until recently.
Oh, okay.
What does jag mean? I mean, a jab, because you get jabbed in the arm with a needle.
Yes.
Jag?
I'm aware of the concept. Yeah. Well, it's the same thing. You get jagged in the arm with a needle. It's the same thing.
It's a made-up word.
It's not a made-up word. What are you talking about?
No one's ever said jag before COVID.
You ever heard the phrase, a joke with a jag?
No.
Okay.
Has anyone else? Feedback at double air.
I need to get out more.
Double air. DoubleTapOnAir.com.
Double air. That's half the problem with this show. There's too much double air going on. I went and got that. And today I am suffering for it. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to complain because, I don't complain.
You are. Yeah.
I'm not going to complain. Look, I will say this. Today's show is brought to you by various amounts of medication because I could barely get out of bed this morning with a pain. I felt like, having been in a car crash once or twice in my life, actually 3 times if you include the one in the bus. But anyway, the various experiences I've had being knocked about in cars have told me this feeling that I'm having is very similar.
Let's not put people off because it is important to get your flu and COVID jabs.
And look, a lot of people don't feel that way, right? Mum and Dad got it as well. They feel fine today. I checked in on them before we started. They feel absolutely fine. I had people telling me, it's funny how people instantly tell you on social media, I was fine when I got it. It's like, okay, good for you.
No, I've had it.
Pain.
I've had
I want to moan about it.
I've had it a few times with no reaction whatsoever, and I've had it once or twice where for a couple of days it felt like I had the flu.
It only lasts a couple of days. And, especially when you get both. I mean, to be honest, I think it's more the flu jab. It gives you jab. It gives you the symptoms of the flu. That's kind of how it works. They're giving you the flu.
Yeah.
In order you can build up resistance against it. I'm not a medical man, but I'm, I didn't read the leaflet. I tossed that straight in the bin.
Not interested in your health. Anyway, I want to know about the M4 Mac Minis. Are they all set up and running now?
Well, actually, I was going to say I'm talking to you on it right now. I don't even know what that means. But I mean, it's actually running as we speak. Yeah, it's nice.
Oh, there you go. Another Stephen Scott review. It's nice. Okay.
You know what? When you use these things all the time, and especially if you're like me, buying the very latest all the time, you kind of forget or maybe don't realize the power you've got under the hood because you're so used to the speed, right? But
Yes.
if you were coming to this from an Intel machine, if you've got an Intel MacBook Air, good luck if you do. But if you've got an Intel MacBook, Godspeed to you, my friend. But, seriously, move on. It's finished. Because honestly, these things, I mean, basically, I'll tell you what a MacBook Air is good for with an Intel chip. It is good for frying eggs, and it's good for keeping you warm if the heating's off. That's entirely it.
If you are running an Intel-based Mac, there is an important
wasting
update,
your
apparently,
life.
or a security update or something like I read, but that's only for Intel-based Mac. So make sure you're up to date in your OS. There you go.
Thank you. Public service announcement there from Shaun Preece.
Thank you.
Medical information, science information. It's all here on Double Tap.
And none of it reliable. Can I just say that?
Absolutely don't trust any of it. Just like all the information online. So listen, we're coming up. We're going to be meeting the guys from, well, I say the guys, actually. Only one of the team from Vispero are joining us. I think they've caught wind of the fact that we've been talking about NVDA and they're suddenly not interested in talking
Matt
to
said
them anymore.
no. Yeah,
that's right. Matt Hater's not with us today. Matt Hater's become a Matt Hater of Double
well
Tap
done.
up here. Thank you. But we have got Ryan Jones with us. Of course, he's going to be with us from Vispero talking about that competition last week. And we're going to be speaking to the winner, none other than our very own good friend, Lord Robin Christopherson of Christophersonshire.
Who knew Robin was going to win? I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean,
It's
we
an
know.
absolute disgrace. I thought I'm not going to even apply for this because, the job I do, it might seem a little bit inappropriate. Robin just thunders in.
Yeah, well, and plus, you didn't have any ideas whatsoever.
No.
But
Well, I did have one
that-
idea, but I'll talk about that later.
Oh.
Yeah, I had one idea.
Okay.
But anyway, we'll get to that. Listen, I want to mention a couple of stories which may be of interest. I mean, it actually ties in a little bit, and we will talk about this with Robin because his idea came out of something else which was released recently. Now, you probably remember me talking about, I don't know what you would call this, a plugin or an extension or a script for VoiceOver on the Mac called VOCR, which is essentially VoiceOver OCR, right? It gives you the ability to scan the screen, and it initially was able to, just let you scan the screen. If there was an inaccessible box, you could find out what was in there, and that happens a lot on Macs. I mean, those of us who've been trying to install Windows on our Macs using Parallels will always come up against, I think they've improved it a little bit now, but there was a time where you could not access the installer windows at all. And this gives you the ability to scan the window, which is just telling you that you've got a close, a minimize, and a maximize button, and that's it.
Yes.
And it tells you the title of the window, but it doesn't give you any more information
No
than
content whatsoever. Yeah.
Can't get to the continue button, can't read any of the information in there. But VOCR scans the window or the screen, and it lets you know what's going on. Now, they've improved it. VOCR 2, the much anticipated sequel, has been released. And a good friend of ours, Andre Louis, has put together a fantastic video. We're going to link to that in the show notes because you must go and check this out. He also talks to the developer, Chai Kim, who put this thing together. And we're going to try and get Chai on the show here to talk a bit about it because it's actually it's a brilliant plugin. And he's added lots of new features, including the ability to get image descriptions directly through VOCR and lots more. There's a lot in there. So well worth checking out the video. And like I say, we will be talking to Chai Kim very, very soon. The other big story I want to mention is, and we'll be talking more about this tomorrow, but you might have seen, I spotted this just by chance. There's a webinar coming up. I think it's December 2nd. Again, we'll put the links in the notes. For a webinar, for those of you who have the Mantis Q40, the QWERTY with Braille display, they are bringing a new update out this winter, which brings text to speech to the device. I am beyond excited about this.
That's so interesting. That's something you were asking for from the start.
Yeah.
Was the text to speech. I'm going to pull you up on that when we talk about it a little bit more later on.
Well, yeah, we're going to come back to it because tomorrow on the show we're going to be joined. Couldn't get him today, unfortunately. He was very busy with family business. But and family comes first here at Double Tap.
Comes first. We all know.
Well, to us it does. Yeah, exactly. Yes. you say that until your lovely Sarah asks for a cup of tea and then everything's on hold.
I go running.
Yeah, exactly. But quite right too. But yeah, we're going to be talking to Andrew Flatres from HumanWare on tomorrow's show. He'll explain all about all of this, how it will work. What I can tell you is it's going to work over Bluetooth, because I think a lot of people are wondering how the audio is going to get out of the Mantis. There's no headphone jack. It will be working over Bluetooth. I've got to say, in advance of this news, this update I don't think is even out yet, and I've already picked out my Bluetooth headphones I'm going to use with it. I'm going to get them all paired up. I can't wait. I'm so excited.
What I'm going to say?
This. What?
Latency, lag.
Yeah, well, that'll be interesting. Yeah, I mean,
We will see.
We will see. We will see. I would always recommend buying the cheapest pair of Bluetooth headphones you can find. And trust me, I know cheap. So, in fact, I think I've got about 4 pairs in that cupboard already.
Well, that may increase latency with a.
Sometimes it doesn't, though. Sometimes you find it's
signal.
cheap. Because what happens is the weaker signal gives less quality transmission. Therefore, it's higher latency.
Oh, a lower latency. Okay,
Lower latency, yeah.
we'll see.
Whatever the good one is.
Yes.
So, yeah, quite excited about that. So Andrew Flatter is going to join us on the show tomorrow. We'll talk all about that. But you know what? Let's get into the big story of the day, because the next big thing competition wrapped up last week. We had pre-recorded a little bit ahead of time, so we didn't get a chance to bring you the information and the news about the winner. But I must admit, I was kind of surprised at the winner, but I'm also really pleased for him as well. And I also think the idea he's come up with is excellent. So let's get to it then. And to talk about the next big thing from Vispero, it is Ryan Jones who's back with us. Ryan, welcome back to Double Tap.
Thank you, guys. I'm glad to be here today.
Yeah, great to have you back with us. And, of course, announcing the winner last week of the next big thing contest. So tell us, first off, what were the entries like this time round? Because last year, of course, you had so many to choose from. I guess the same this year.
Yeah, we actually had a lot. We didn't know, this being the second year, sometimes the second year people the first year get really energized about it. So we weren't really sure how this year would go. But by the time we got to the submissions deadline, we had a lot of submissions. And so we had a first round of judges that reviewed all of those initial submissions, and they had the unenvious job of narrowing it down to 3. And it took a good bit of work for them to narrow it down to 3. There was a lot of good ones. I think one thing I noticed this year was, last year AI was obviously a huge, it was very, AI was new to all of us. It was kind of the buzzword. And this year we had a number of things related to AI, but I felt like the submissions this year were a little bit more practical. So it wasn't just, well, hey, just integrate AI into JAWS, because that's kind of was the first themes that we heard. Like, just put AI into JAWS. Okay, well, what in the world does that mean? So this year, I think people have settled in a little bit more on what AI is, what it can do. And so the submissions were a little bit more practical, I think, which was nice, because that's kind of the iteration that we've all been through too, right? As we've understood, AI is really a tool that can help us solve problems, and as we kind of come to that conclusion, and we've also become more practical about using it and how to use it. So I think the submissions fell into that same thread, and they were really good. So that first round of judges picked the top 3. All 3 were different. If you watch the replay of the contest, you'll see they were all 3 very different things. And so we were glad to have some good diversity in these 3 finalists. And I think the process went really smoothly this year.
Well, it's good to see that, people are still engaged and still coming up with these features. It just shows how invested they are in JAWS, right?
Yeah, and nobody resubmitted. I mean, all the ideas were new, which was nice. Nobody was copying their things from last year or copying what other people submitted. So it was all fresh, new thoughts and ideas, which is great for us to see.
I was going to ask, how many weren't about AI, but you've already answered that question. But
Yeah.
Was there a sort of theme? As you mentioned, AI was big last year. Did you see any theme of a certain, feature request this year?
Yeah, I think the theme was just let's see how we can make things easier. So certainly some of the AI submissions were around an overall theme of getting access to things that we didn't have access to before as users of screen reading software. That was a theme. The other themes that came out to me, and you can kind of see this actually in the 3 finalists, were how do we just make things easier, make things more simple for us as users, whether it's connecting with JAWS Tandem or whether it's using our settings center. Those were 2 of the finalists as well. those ideas centered around just making things easier to do and faster. And that was kind of an overall theme. I'd say if you had to boil it down to one or two words, the theme this year was just practicality. How do we make things more practical and easier to do?
Okay, so let's talk about, we're going to talk to the winner, Robin Christopherson, our good friend actually here at Double Tap. He's been on regularly with us, and he's always good at coming up with great ideas. Clearly this one topped them all because it won. I want to hear about some of the other submissions as well, because you normally tend to focus on the top three. So what was 2 and 3? What were those suggestions?
Yeah, they were really good. And in both years, our judges have had a big task of deciding who wins. So the other two were, one was about making it easier to connect with JAWS Tandem. So you guys know JAWS Tandem is our technology we use for people, where people can remotely access another computer with JAWS. And so a lot of people use this for training, for our technical support team uses this. Other people use it to help each other with JAWS. We have teachers who use this to work with their students. Just a number of ways that people benefit from JAWS Tandem to help connect to other people's computers. And so this one idea was about setting up or being able to establish consistent codes so that when you go to connect to someone, you give them one code and they always use that code to connect with you now. So right now the technology works by every time I go to connect to some other computer, it generates a random code. I have to tell that person the code. They have to type it in, and then the connection is established. So this idea was, let me set up, let's say 5 or 6 common codes that I use, and I give those codes out to the people I connect to the most, and they always use the same code. So I don't have to tell them each time a new series of letters and numbers to use. So again, that was practical, right? That's making it easier to set up a connection with JAWS Tandem. So that was a really good one. The other one was about our settings and how to bring to light settings and maybe more commonly changed settings. So the idea was around, maybe if we create some profiles, right? So if I'm a web tester, or I'm a student who really wants to deal with formatting versus someone who just wants to use JAWS to read text, we might all want to change a number of settings that kind of lend themselves to those themes. So creating profiles that we could choose from as a user. So if I'm a web tester, I would choose the web tester profile, and it will set typing echo to words only, and it will turn on certain web features and things like that. So instead of me having to go look through different settings and determine individual ones that I might turn on or turn off, it would be the idea of setting up these profiles. And I think that's really good. That's a really practical thing as well. And it solves a problem for people who are maybe newer to screen reading, or even if you're not new, just not being aware of all the myriad of settings and customizations in JAWS that are available. So don't be shocked if you see these other things come into the product as well. That's what I told them all at the end of the contest. I said, don't be surprised if these things happen as well, because they are practical and they do solve problems for people.
Yeah. Well, you've mentioned it a few times now, the word practical. And this is a problem with all screen readers, right? There's so many different settings, so many different features that, well, for many users that use it for many different use cases, it's difficult to make them at the same time give you that many customizations, at the same time make it easy to remember to get to and where they are, and make them accessible to people, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And I think there's actually play here for using AI to help with this down the road. I mean, we don't have this baked out yet, but I can see the potential, because AI is really good at sifting through large amounts of information. So I think there's a move here down the road to use AI to help us expose some of those commonly used settings, and even maybe looking at, we could potentially suggest settings based on other users, right? Not even just yourself, but here's the most commonly changed settings in the last 2 years for JAWS users, for example. So
insert a caps lock. That's got to be in there, I'm sure.
Yes, definitely.
That's right.
Yeah,
absolutely. That is one of the top things, is setting the keyboard layout for sure,
and customizing it to some degree and all that. Yeah, absolutely. like you say, a lot of the ideas that come through, you must sit and think, and you've just said this, ultimately you sit there and think, this is a great idea. This could easily be implemented into the software and work really well. So, next big thing is, of course, the event. It's the chance for people to come together. It's a wonderful event every year. But, I get the impression that what you're really building here is a community of people who are coming up with great ideas that's allowing you to think about new ways to develop the software. Like, you can't come up with all the ideas yourself, right?
Yeah, exactly. This is much about, like, it's not just hey, we want you to do our work for us kind of thing.
Although we don't afford that here at Double Tap. We're fine.
Yeah,
with that.
why not?
You want to do it? Yeah, absolutely. You do it, right?
Sure. But it is, you're right. It's about kind of just enabling our community to share. And we have such a globally spread out community. And we get to connect with a lot of people in person at conferences and in different online events, but we don't get to connect with everyone, obviously. And so it's really important for us. One of my big themes when I started this role a couple of years ago is listening and listening to our community. And so this is just another way to do that and let people share, let people get excited about things. And these are oftentimes the submissions we're getting there's a number of them that people we never knew about before, not people that we didn't know. And that was great because they had a voice now that they may not have felt like they had a voice to connect with us in the past.
Yeah, well, as we all know, it's so important so that people feel heard, especially in a product they use a lot. And
Exactly.
talking of which, can you give us any more info? What's going on with Jules 2025? As you know, Ryan, I am now a Jules user, at least on one of my computers.
Well,
I've got to
good.
say.
Well, I'm glad we got you on one at least. That's awesome.
What have I got to look forward to in Jules 2025?
Yeah, so the first 2025 release came out right at the end of October. The biggest thing that I would say is exciting is the FS Companion tool that we built. And this is an AI-powered, think of it like a chat bot that is trained specifically about JAWS. It's trained about Microsoft Office, and it's trained to help you do things that you can't remember how to do, whether it's a certain keyboard command or changing a certain setting or doing a certain task in Office. Example, the other day I was trying to hide some columns in an Excel spreadsheet. I don't do that very often. So I went to FS Companion and asked it, how do I hide a column in Excel? And then it gave me back, here's the steps to do that. And it's not telling you click on this or click on that. It's giving you keyboard commands that you can actually do as a screen reader user. Right now we're adding in the training for ZoomText in Fusion. So here very shortly in December, we will have the tool will be very well trained on our other products, ZoomText and Fusion as well. So that's been hugely exciting. The number of hits we're getting on that tool every week is phenomenal. It's really getting a lot of usage, a lot of great questions. We're using those questions to kind of feed back into the tool and continue to train it and make it better. So it's basically, somebody described as it's JAWS teaching you how to use JAWS in a way. And so that's the biggest thing that I think that we've seen in 2025. We added some AI-powered language translation, or not translation, but language detection for those who are using JAWS in other languages. That's been very well received. ZoomText, we've been doing a lot of work on stability, performance. We're working on ARM support for ZoomText right now in Fusion, so people who are using some of the newer Snapdragon devices, newer ARM processors will be able to use ZoomText and Fusion in the not too distant future. So it's a lot going on. We have an update coming out in December, and then several updates certainly coming out next year as well.
Now, look, we get lots of questions in all the time from our audience, and when we can put these questions to the people who make the software or the hardware or the technology, we like to do that. Paul got in touch with a question that he was hoping the audience could help with, but I thought you might be able to help with this. Paul's partially sighted. He relies on ZoomText and ZoomText Fusion magnification software on Windows PCs. In recent years, he says ZoomText has become really sluggish, even when running on a very high-spec device for both work or home use. He says, I've used Macs and the built-in magnifier tool in Windows 11, but to be productive, I keep coming back to ZoomText. Now, he has been considering switching over to an M4 Mac and installing Parallels on as a virtual machine using VMware so he can run ZoomText in a virtual machine. And he says that the native version of ZoomText he tried a while ago didn't work very well, but he wonders how it will behave on an ARM-based Mac. So that's maybe a little bit of a niche question, but there are a lot of people out there who are seeing the power of Mac and bringing Windows onto it and wondering if perhaps that's a better way to get the most out of Access Tech. Can you respond to that?
Yeah, it's a great question. And it's actually one of the reasons we're working right now as we speak on ARM support for ZoomText and Fusion. You know, we did this in JAWS a couple of years ago when ARM devices started to come out, but we had to go back and basically kind of rebuild or recode a lot of ZoomText to enable ZoomText to work on ARM devices such as Mac when running Parallels to run Windows. So I would say few months this will be out. I don't know exactly which date yet, but it will be out in the not too distant future. I know our team who's doing some initial testing and engineering on this are seeing a really nice performance increase with ZoomText on ARM devices. The processor architecture is fairly efficient. I mean, if you think just about battery life you get out of ARM devices is incredible. And I think there's a lot of efficiencies there in the processor. So that seems to be having a positive impact for ZoomText and Fusion as well. So give us a few months. You'll be able to run ZoomText and Fusion on a Mac, an M4 processor when running Parallels with Windows. And early indications are positive on this.
Okay, that's good. I just need to be really clear on this because JAWS is currently available as, is it still beta mode?
It is.
Or is it still a beta version running for
No,
for
JAWS
ARM?
is fully available and you don't even need to download a special version. When you go to install JAWS, it recognizes if you're running an ARM device or an Intel x86 device, and it installs it properly. So you don't even have to know. And in fact, many people, if you just go buy a computer at your local store, you probably won't even know if it's an ARM device unless you're really into tech and wanting to know. It's kind of invisible to the user. So JAWS has already been doing this for a couple of versions now seamlessly, and ZoomText will be starting very soon.
But ZoomText isn't at the moment available in that way.
Correct. As of today, it's not. But early in the first few months of 2025 is when I expect we will have it available for ZoomText on ARM devices.
And look, this goes to the heart of, not just buying a new computer, whether it be a Mac. I mean, it could be a Copilot Plus PC, which a lot of people are interested in. And, early indications have, I see a lot of people saying, I've returned mine or didn't really like it very much or had some issues with software on it. It's early days for ARM on Windows for sure. Mac kind of hit the ground running, but they build the software, they build the hardware. It was a bit of an easier run for them.
Closed system for them.
So it was a bit easier, it was a bit different. But, what is interesting is the capability of the software on those platforms. So, as you're saying, early part of 2025, whether it's a Copilot Plus PC or whether it's a Mac running a virtual machine, you'll be able to use ZoomText on those in the next few months.
Yeah, exactly.
Brilliant. Okay.
Good to know. Just before we get to Paul buying a whole new computer, he didn't mention what version of ZoomText he was using. But off the top of your head, Ryan, do you know of any reasons why a ZoomText would run slow even on high-spec hardware? I'm guessing it's an older version, maybe.
It may be. And we've put in the last 18 months, a lot of work has gone into performance and speed around ZoomText. In fact, the whole magnification engine was rewritten about a year ago. Even in 2025, there's more things that have been done to try to use less resources and increase performance. So if he's using an older version, and this goes for anyone using ZoomText, please upgrade. Make sure you're current, because you go back 1-2 versions in ZoomText, there's some significant performance things that have happened. Now, will everyone experience a massive improvement? I can't answer that because there's so many other variables, but overall, a lot has happened in the last year and a half on ZoomText. So that's why it's really important to stay up to date with the software.
Yeah, well, look, glad you came back on. Really excited to learn about the winning entry of Next Big Thing. We're going to be joined by Robin Christopherson, the winner, in just a second. But Ryan, for now, thank you so much for coming on. And I guess next year, Next Big Thing happening again. Keep it rolling on.
We've got it down. We had a great 2 years, so I expect we'll continue it. Next year's a big year. It's the 30th anniversary of JAWS for Windows, for 30th birthday. Wow. So we're going to have a lot going on next year. We have a team starting to work now on planning and what things we'll be doing and how we'll be theming this throughout the year. But 30 years. I mean, it's older than both of you guys, I assume. So
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Well, I mean, marginally. Yes, marginally.
at least for maturity, if nothing else, right?
Wow. I don't know about that.
Okay.
Okay. I think it's time to go.
It's
Listen,
time
right,
to be done. Yeah, bring Robin on. Let's get out of here.
is that line starting to crackle? I don't know. Listen, honestly, Ryan, thank you so much for your time today. And, wonderful competition. Great to see people engaging with it. As always, you're welcome here on Double Tap. Come back anytime.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Ryan.
Well, Shaun, let's speak to the winner of the next big thing from Vispero. Yes, I'm pleased to welcome back to the show Robin Christopherson, Lord Robin Christopherson of Christophersonshire. How are you, Robin?
Good, thanks. I feel like I should have hairy feet if I'm from the Shire. Yeah, I am doing well.
How did this happen, Robin? I mean, how did you win? This is ridiculous. I know you.
Oh, that's shocking. What a thing to say.
No.
What a thing to say to a lord, no less.
From a global competition, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
All I can think is they were fibbing when they said it had been really hard to whittle it down to 3 and that we were the only 3. And I don't know, the other guys were really, really unlucky. So, yeah.
No, I don't buy that.
Congratulations, Robin.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
So listen, tell people who weren't following it what your entry was.
Okay. My entry was called Smart Screen Review. And they can obviously take the name or leave it, that's fine. But it is actually stolen lock, stock and barrel from a free Mac utility called VOCR, which I think we've talked about on this show before.
Hang on. Right, so
Yeah,
hang on. Is there a copyright issue here? Should we be concerned about lawsuits here?
Is this a
Double Tap
confession?
does not take the views of anyone seriously,
No.
etc.
I was very upfront all the way through from my first entry onwards and in the pitch.
Far too modest not to be. Yeah, that would not surprise me at all. Yeah, but okay, we'll talk a little bit about VOCR. But yeah, tell people about it because there isn't an equivalent at the moment on JAWS, is there?
No, and we all have experienced that button that we just can't tab to from the keyboard, or if we can, it'll say just button, not labeled, or you get to it and you hit spacebar or enter on it and it doesn't click it, particularly on the web. Dropping down a combo box, for example, or popping up a date picker, no can do from the keyboard. So, or there's a pop-up, in the note, like you hear a notification saying, threat down, endpoint agent needs to be updated, and you can't alt-tab to it. And it keeps on announcing its presence and you can't get rid of it, or you can alt-tab to it, but then you can't do anything with it. You can't read what it says, or if you can, you can't dismiss it. All of these daily frustrations that we have. Or the software itself, the entire application is really inaccessible. I'm looking at you, Logitech.
Yep.
So what this does is, and this is how it works on the Mac as well, once you've installed this VOCR utility, is you do a hotkey and it takes a snapshot of the whole screen, and it then uses AI or, machine learning to OCR every piece of text on that screen. And because it's working with an image, anything that looks like text on screen, regardless of how accessible it was to us as screen reader users, that unlabeled button has probably got some text on it. It will recognize that text. And one thing we did discuss as like a kind of a stretch goal would be that the AI would go further and be able to recognize, like a play, pause, or fast forward or rewind controls on unlabeled, buttons of a media player, for example. But the way that VOCR works is that it recognizes every scrap of text on the screen and it puts that text in exactly the same place in this kind of virtual snapshot viewer that it is on the screen. So then you can start at the top if you want to and read the whole line by line, the whole screen, get an idea where everything is, find that pesky pop-up in the bottom right corner or wherever it is. Word by word, you can jump across character by character. And when you get to the thing that you want to interact with or that you want to read, then you can, either read it line by line, word by word, or you can find that OK button or that word install, which is that, pesky button that you've been trying to get to. And then you can send a mouse click. And once you've sent that mouse click, it gets sent to that exact, point on the screen and it clicks that button. And with a setting, in VOCR, you can choose whether this setting is on or off. It either then drops you out of that snapshot mode, or it will rescan the screen automatically to give you the next smart screen view. And the application that installer, that inaccessible installer, is now being updated to the next screen, the next page of the installer, for example. And then you can do exactly the same thing again. You can read the instructions on the next page, you can click the next button or whatever it is, still staying in that smart screen view mode. And at any time you can hit escape to get out of it and go back to operating your computer normally. But basically every single scrap of information that's on the screen to a sighted user is in that smart screen review mode. And the brilliant thing about it is that because you're never working with the application, you're never moving the mouse, you're only sending one mouse click at a certain coordinate, all of these things that would otherwise disappear if the mouse moved in between what you were doing, like that drop down would then go away again because it had like a mouse over effect or something. Everything stays exactly as it is. So, when you've clicked to drop that menu down, you'll then be able to, move down line by line through the snapshot and get the menu item or the drop-down combo box item you want and click that. Or if it's a date picker pop-up, you can choose the day of the month that you want to do. And then, when you're done, drop out of smart screen review mode and you're back to normal. So that, in essence, is the way that it works with VOCR, and that the guys seem to think would be a good idea to add to JAWS. I don't know if you guys find how much you've been using JAWS recently, Shaun, or if you're still kind of mainly... Okay. Do you find that sometimes you just cannot get to that text with the JAWS cursor or with the, touch cursor, or if you even virtualize the view of that page, that window, the text isn't there? It's just, there seems to be whole kind of invisible sections of screens, and let alone buttons and things. And this will hopefully address all of that.
Well, it sounds like you fixed inaccessibility in every app and every software and every website, Lord Robin Christopherson. Well done.
One of the questions he asked, one of the judges asked, because they ask you other questions, follow-up questions, was, are you into games? And if so, what game would you play using this? And that really threw me, because I'm not a gamer. I should have just said, no, not into games, and I don't think this is the main reason. But I kind of felt under pressure to give an answer about what game I'd use. So I mentioned something daft about, like, I was really into pinball when I could see, and maybe my first thing to try would be a pinball machine game. I don't know. I said something really daft. But I'm sure there are things that you can't do with this. This is literally about getting to inaccessible text or buttons.
No, it's a fantastic idea, as we've seen with VOCR.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it is a fantastic way of doing things. I didn't know that's the way it worked, by simply coordinates, mouse cursor coordinates.
Yep.
I mean, it makes total sense now you've explained it. I'm wondering why we haven't seen this before. Because, OCR has been around for decades and decades. Why was it that, I'm guessing AI was the catalyst in doing this sort of thing?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think the key thing is that when it's OCR'd, it doesn't just bring it into the virtual viewer or into some sort of document where you just have the text, which is what other OCRs do. Yeah. What it does is kind of allows you to roam around within that screenshot. Yeah. And the text is exactly where it is on the screen, which I know, could be challenging if you had a pop-up over a background document or something. You'll get half a sentence on the left and half a sentence on the right. But in a way, that's good for the sort of spatial awareness of knowing how things work visually, potentially. Yeah. But you can always find that OK and cancel button, or that, install button, or whatever it is, by just hearing the word as and when you come across it. And one of the settings that I would recommend, and this is how it works in VOCR, is that when you do that initial keystroke to go into the smart screen mode, the cursor stays where it was. So if you tab to a button and it just said button, then the focus would be on that. And if it had got a picture of text on that button that was then turned into actual text for us, you'd still be on it. So yeah, that's one way around kind of getting lost. But even if you start top to bottom, read the whole screen to get an idea of what's what, just be aware that some text might be chopped off, and that's just what people are seeing visually as well.
It was funny. The other day I was signing into Mastodon again, and I could not get focus into the text field. At least I don't think I could. I was tabbing and I wasn't hearing that I was in the text field for entering in the server name. And I thought, hey, this is a great opportunity to try VOCR out. And that's exactly what I did. I used VOCR not just to locate the text field, which it did fairly quickly just by using the up and down arrow keys after enacting it. It scans the window, or you can scan the screen if you want, but you can also scan the window you're on. And then, I was able to arrow to the text field and then hit enter, and it took me right into that text field. That's the power I think you're looking for in JAWS, isn't it? Because that's the bit it's the second part of it. It's one thing reading the screen, but it's saying, okay, that's the button, that's what I want to press. Now press it.
Yeah, that's the clever bit, I think. And yeah, VOCR 2.0 is I don't know how new it is, but yeah, that has all that new features, which is what, I pointed the guys, including Ryan, at after I won. I said, look, here's a video, that 20-minute video by Andre Louis, and it covers everything that I would like it to cover, because you don't want to go too deep dive in the 3-minute pitch. But yeah, that's exactly what I want. Just do that, guys, please. Thank you very much. But,
just do that, yeah.
For people that are wondering, well, actually, to get into a text field, you have to click in the box, and the box obviously hasn't got any text in it, so it won't appear when you scan. Actually, you can click the label to any form field on a web page, and maybe in an application as well. So if it says, I don't know, surname or something, and you just can't click in that box, or you can't tab into it, if you hear the word surname in the scan view and just click on that and then drop out of scan mode, then the cursor will be flashing in that field. So yeah, that's in case anyone's wondering, well, how's it going to work with text fields? So that's what you would do.
And actually, not only that, but with VOCR 2, you can type. You don't have to actually exit VOCR to type in. You can do it later
as well. Yeah,
it'll just work inside that window. So that's really nice. You can do that.
This is exciting stuff, right?
Yeah,
I mean, it's so funny you mentioned Logitech, Robin. The Logitech keyboard software, Options Plus and all that we use, and I kind of can get around. There's lots that I can't do with it. I'm thinking things like Elgato with the Stream Deck. I mean, I'm going to steal that back off my daughter because the software is totally inaccessible, and I would love to play with that. And just something like this, just, hey, I don't know how it's going to work yet, but it may be just what I need. This is exciting stuff.
Yeah, and, on the Mac, if you have heard of VOCR, you'll probably use it quite a lot once you've used it once and realised what it can do for you. One of the judges in his questions before he asked the question said, yeah, I use VCOR on the Mac all the time. And I thought, oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Got someone on my side there. So, yeah, it's really, really powerful. And I'm really excited to have that to come to JAWS as well.
Do you know what else would be cool? And the Mac has this. I imagine Windows has the same through JAWS or Narrator or any of them. But a really good drag and drop functionality would be cool, because that's another area, especially when you talk about the Elgato Stream Deck, Shaun. Part of the way it works is to drag actions from a menu on the right side onto a button. And it's being able to do that successfully. Now, I must admit, on the Mac, there is a functionality to drag and drop. It is so hit and miss. Literally hit and miss. Sometimes you go to an area there's an app I use called Mars Edit for WordPress, and it has a featured image area, and you can go to the desktop. You can choose the file, the image file you want to put in there. You go to it with VoiceOver. You go to where it says featured image, drop here, and you hit the drop. So essentially, it is on screen. It is actually moving the file into that position. And it I love how it just hovers around. It hovers, like a little helicopter, just hovering around, and then drops, and then just goes, didn't work. And you go, oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
So, I think a good drag and drop in the Mac would be cool as well. Cheekim, if you're listening. Also, on Windows, does that exist at the minute? Is that possible?
A drag and drop's available on all of them, isn't it? JAWS, NVDA, and Narrator, I'm not too sure about. I've never really used it, though.
Yeah, I think you can send, instead of a mouse click, like a click and hold. Yeah. And then you can click somewhere else to drop.
Okay, yeah.
I've never done it.
That would work divide too. And multiply on the numpad, isn't it?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of similar on the Mac as well. You do have the left click and right click options as well. It's funny, isn't it? Because there's so many cool stuff, so many cool things coming in to this software. But this is where the next big thing is cool, and I guess it's why you wanted to get involved, right? Because it's such an open door. They're up for anything, aren't they? And of course, not just your idea, but as Ryan Jones just told us earlier, the ideas that they get, they will look at. Even if a brilliant idea comes along that doesn't win, it could still get implemented down the line. That's what's brilliant about this.
Yeah, and in fact, I was listening to last year's Next Big Thing, and a couple of, I think both runners-up have been included into 2024. So yeah.
And I got to say, Robin, I mean, respect to you for saying I took this lock, stock and barrel
Stole it
from VOCR. It's very,
full
very
respect for
honest
that.
of you. But yeah.
And I was on another podcast last night talking about the
What?
entry.
Hang on a
And,
minute. Sorry, hang on a minute.
Excuse me?
There are
And
other podcasts?
moonlighting
Unbelievable.
on Mac accessibility. And
Oh, that's all right.
Steve
You're
was
on there all
saying,
the time. You're one of the knights.
yeah, that's right. Steve was saying that he loves VOCR and he has Windows in Parallels.
Mm.
And A, he used it to use Parallels because Parallels is horrendous. And B,
Yes.
he uses it to, like VOCR Windows as well because it's there. It's a window. It's on screen. If it's on screen, you can do it. So yeah, you can scan the text. You can scan a screen with a a maximized Windows window on it. You can read all the text and you can send clicks and that sort of thing. So yeah, that's like a double win really for both operating systems. Yeah.
We were just talking about that with Ryan Jones there. We had an email in from Paul talking about his issues with ZoomText, and he was, saying he may consider buying an M4 Mac. It is very interesting to me the amount of people I'm hearing, especially in the blind community, who are saying, you know what, maybe we go down the Mac route, and that's how we get the most out of Windows. It seems like what Microsoft are doing and the relationships they have when it comes to Windows and building the ARM infrastructure, and I guess it's not them who are doing that. I mean, there's an element of it, but ultimately it's up to other companies to develop the infrastructure for it. It's not working very well, is it? People are jumping over to Mac to use Windows.
Certainly, it's a very viable option now. Windows on ARM, which you can obviously run in on a Mac, M series Mac, very, very swift. Has all the drivers, has everything now that you would need. So yeah, it's definitely a viable option. And it, runs better than it does on your Snapdragon Elite chip still. So yeah.
Yeah, what's that about? I don't get what is this.
A few years ahead.
I know I used to say it, I was kind of joking for many years, but it's kind of also true that the best way to run Windows was on a Mac. And I used to say that and throw it out there as a bit of a joke, and now it seems everybody's following on with, actually, do you know what? It is. Actually, it is.
Both Robin and I ran our Windows on Macs for a long time.
Yeah.
Until work took the MacBook Pro away.
Yeah.
And so I had to dig out an old MacBook from a while ago, and I've just boot camped it. So I have actually got two machines here sitting on this laptop Razer, both in clamshell mode. One is a Windows machine, and the one on top is a MacBook in boot camp for different purposes. So yeah.
I don't know how Apple might feel about that in some ways. It's like, okay, hang on, we love that you're buying all these Macs, but equally, you keep sticking Windows on them, But hey, listen, it gets the sales up for them, I suppose.
Can I just say, Apple, are you looking at VOCR? Because, if you want to buy the developers, company, then
Absolutely.
He deserves it.
it's worth doing. They deserve it.
That is a fantastic feature. And I will say it's the first time I've seen a project like that, which seems to be able to almost be that add-on to VoiceOver that we've never really. I know we've had Apple Script control for a long time, and that's how part of this works. But I don't feel that it's been utilized as much as it could have been. And certainly, I think if Apple, and I think JAWS could do the same. I mean, I feel with JAWS, the idea of an add-on store could be a good thing. I could see, for example, Licia being sold through that we use and enjoy. I could see it being a way of not just being a place where people can, download like NVDA, you create an add-on as a community and then you start using it. But people could monetize that as well. Could build a creator community.
Stop it. I'm nicking that idea for next year.
Yeah,
Do you
okay,
know
write
what?
that one down. You can have that.
Do you know? I put in 2 entries. That was the other one.
There you go, you see. And
Script store
and that one didn't work.
of
Right.
third-party scripts that they'd approved that wouldn't do anything nasty or slow your computer to crawl or anything.
Well, that's the key, isn't it? It has to be tested. Absolutely. It has to be tested, has to be checked out. And I feel that Apple could go the same way here with this. They could do something similar. But knowing Apple, that's the last thing they would do. But it seems possible anyway, without the need for Apple to sanction it. If VOCR, and that's not the only one, we're starting to hear more of these little projects coming along which add extra functionality to VoiceOver. I think that's fantastic. I think it's about time as well. Listen, Robin, great to have you back on. I want to get your thoughts on all the Windows side of things because lots going on with Windows. So come back and talk to us again soon. And we'll look forward to. I'm guessing it's next year it'll come out, the new feature that you've been.
Who knows? 2025 is already out.
Yeah.
So I have no idea when it'll roll out. So yeah, probably fall. I mean, Q1, whatever that is, spring.
Yeah, because possibly, or they may wait till 26 and roll it out.
Boo.
I wait to see your face on all the billboards advertising the new feature, Robin.
That's
Really
right.
beautiful.
Yes, thank you, you, Robin. We'll look forward to that. But no, seriously, thank you. It was a brilliant idea, and
Thanks, guys.
Congrats again. Come back soon, Robin.
Thanks a lot. Cheers.
Thanks, Robin. Well, you got to give it to him, as I said. Very honest of him, saying I just stole it, basically, off the OCR. I mean, God bless you, Robin.
You know one thing about Robin, you'll always get honesty out of him. That's for sure. He'll always tell you what's going on. He won't take the mic. That's for sure. But no, seriously, well done to him. And what a fantastic competition! It sounds like they're getting some wonderful ideas, and I think it goes back to this thing we've been talking about over the last few months: is the kind of nuance of technology. Now, and assistive technology. It's no longer just the top level features we're interested in. There's a great foundation there. We now want to grow on that and to build features in that can really help us out. And this is definitely going to be one of them. Look, before we go, I've got to mention this story because why wouldn't you mention it? I think it's actually, personally, I might get a little bit emotional during this. I'm going to warn you.
And please don't mention it.
Well, it's just, I can't believe they've done it. I just can't believe that it's happened. I mean, it's something I think I've wanted. It's one of those things, like Steve Jobs used to say, the customers don't know what they want until you tell them, right?
Yes.
I feel that with this product. I feel this is a product that I didn't know I needed. And then when it was announced, I was like, I need that in my life. Now, I will tell you, my wife, not happy with this at all. She's against this 100%. So if this comes into the house, it can only live in the Double Tap studio.
Wow. Now you've got me really thinking. Okay. I have no idea. Okay, give me a clue.
Well, I like to, I don't know about you, but I like nice fragrances around the house. Right?
Okay.
And, I'm not a guy who's into lots of scents and stuff because they generally go for me. So I tend to just sneeze all the time. But sometimes if there's a smell you really like, to have it emanate from something that's burning in your house.
Yes.
By that I mean maybe a candle, for example.
Oh, wait. Okay. Scented candle that smells of Apple products.
That was last year's big thing.
Yes.
So last year, Shaun.
Oh, sorry. I'm out of season. Carry on.
Let's just say, what if I told you there was a candle which featured the scent of our favourite evening meal?
No way. There's not a KFC scented candle.
KFC scented candle. It is coming out. The Colonel's candle. I am between that news and the Mantis getting text to speech, I don't know. It's like Christmas has come early in this
I was
house.
just going to say that. Thank you, Santa, or Colonel Santa. Hang on. So what does it smell of? Just chicken?
It smells of chicken. I mean, clearly burning chicken, I would imagine.
Well, you say burning, I would have said fried, but okay.
Okay,
I know how you cook, so okay. Burning chicken, it smells delicious.
Yeah, it might not sound most appealing. I don't know. Would you want that in your house?
Honestly?
I kind of do. I kind of want to know what that's like, right? I'm in my head. It's like when you try. I don't know if they have this in other parts of the world, but sometimes they mash up different types of, foods into like chips. They'll add different things, crisps as we call them. You get these different kinds of things just slammed together to see if it works.
Yes.
And it kind of feels weird, and then you try it and you go, "This will never taste like." Oh, it does.
Yes. Yes.
So this could be interesting. So would you buy this candle if it was available?
No, absolutely not. What is the
dare you?
smell? What is the smell of KFC?
It's
not chicken. Chicken doesn't really smell unless you're roasting it. I mean,
it's the spices, isn't it? I mean, it's the spicy smell.
Yeah, but they're secret. The 11 secret spices. I don't know. Doesn't it just smell like grease?
Possibly.
Okay. That's a good
bought
thing.
one yet. So it's a limited edition partnership with KFC. Yes, they are part of this. And it's a candle company called Homesick that are putting this together.
Homesick? Wow, for scented. Oh, good. That's going to make you
feel...
feel...
a bad name for a candle, to be perfectly honest.
It's awful. It'll make you want to vomit. Okay, as soon as you come home.
So yeah, inspired by their secret recipe of 11 herbs and spices.
Thank you.
These are apparently available in 2 comforting scents. Bucket of chicken.
Oh, that is quite comforting, I got to say.
Yeah. And buttery biscuit. I have no idea what that means.
What? The KFC don't do buttery biscuits.
This is an American thing, surely, because it's just not, we wouldn't be aware of this.
Right. Yeah.
There's also going to be a collaboration featuring a bucket of chicken car air freshener for your daughter's car. That seems like a perfect present
Yeah,
for
there you
holidays.
go. That's sorted.
I think we need to get the gift guide back just for this. And that means that you can basically get the smell of the second largest chain restaurant in the world wherever you go.
Well, you know what the downside of all this is? Is that,
There's a downside.
well, I mean, you could just buy a bucket of chicken and that would stink the house out of KFC. Can I just say,
That's true, yes.
other fried chicken establishments are available.
But they don't have candles.
No, they don't. KFC, we love you.
I just, you know, that way you read a story, you think, okay, this is a joke, right? There's got to be a thing here. But actually, I can kind of, what I love about this is in no way intended to sell candles. It's intended to sell chicken. That's the whole purpose of this, because essentially you have people, idiots like us, talking about it, saying, oh, look, they've got a chicken candle. and you know, like, they'll sell 4 of them and no one cares. There's no price. Well, not yet anyway. There's no price.
No price whatsoever. No idea.
So it's priceless if you think about it.
They should give it away with every bucket.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. All right. Well done. That's our Christmas sorted. Everyone's getting scented candles.
Everyone's getting scented
Hate
chicken
the
candles.
smell, but they're getting them.
There you go. Well, listen, thank you very much for being with us today. That's it for us. We're back tomorrow with plenty more. We'll talk, of course, about the text-to-speech features coming to the Mantis Q40. It is a text show, honest, with some chicken candles thrown in. Catch you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.